For decades, the business world celebrated the same legends. Companies that started small, conquered entire industries, and became symbols of innovation, ambition, and success. Their products shaped generations, their logos filled homes around the world, and their executives appeared on magazine covers. Looking at their dominance, it was easy to believe they would last forever. Yet history keeps repeating the same story. The names change, industries evolve, technology advances, but the ending remains strangely familiar. A market leader reaches the top, reports record profits, keeps improving the business that made it successful, and then quietly begins to disappear. Not because its people stopped being brilliant, or its products suddenly became worthless. Something far deeper had already started changing beneath the surface. This documentary is not about bad management or companies that simply failed to innovate. That explanation is too simple. Behind many of history's largest corporate collapses lies a quieter force. Economic value rarely stays in the same place. Markets do not reward technology alone. They reward the places where value migrates. Few stories illustrate this better than Kodak. For most of the 20th century, photography and Kodak were almost inseparable. Families recorded birthdays, weddings, vacations, and the defining moments of their lives on Kodak film. The company didn't just sell cameras. It owned the entire system that preserved human memories. Then, in 1975, one of Kodak's own engineers built one of the world's first digital cameras. The invention worked. It proved that photographs no longer needed film. But to Kodak's leadership, digital photography looked less like an opportunity than a threat. Every digital image meant one less roll of film, one less chemical process, and one less profitable print. Kodak kept perfecting film, while photography's economic value quietly migrated toward sensors, software, storage, and eventually the internet. Consumers still wanted photographs. They simply no longer wanted the business model Kodak had spent decades mastering. And Kodak was only the beginning. Because the greatest business mistake isn't failing to invent the future. It's failing to recognize where the future is already creating value. Kodak proved that inventing tomorrow isn't enough. Xerox revealed something even more unsettling. A company can invent the future, understand it, and still fail to own it. During the 1970s, Xerox created one of the greatest research laboratories in corporate history. Inside PARC, engineers developed the graphical user interface, the computer mouse, Ethernet networking, laser printing, and concepts that would shape modern computing. Yet Xerox still saw itself as a photocopier company. Innovation flourished, but only while it supported the business that already existed. The inventions were revolutionary. The incentives were not. When Steve Jobs visited PARC, he immediately recognized what Xerox had failed to see. The graphical interface wasn't simply a better computer. It completely transformed the relationship between people and machines. Apple refined those ideas, Microsoft helped spread them across the world, and Xerox watched others build empires from technologies it had pioneered. The same invisible pattern emerged again in a completely different industry. By the early 2000s, Blockbuster dominated home entertainment. Thousands of stores, billions in revenue, and the ritual of Friday night movie rentals made the company seem untouchable. Then Netflix proposed something radically different: subscription-based entertainment delivered through the internet. Blockbuster wasn't interested. Stores generated traffic. Late fees produced enormous profits. Retail locations and inventory were considered the company's greatest strengths. Every incentive encouraged improving the existing system rather than replacing it. But customers were never attached to video stores. They wanted effortless access to entertainment. Shelves, parking lots, checkout counters, and late fees only existed because technology once made them necessary. As broadband expanded, those advantages quietly disappeared. Once again, the product people truly valued wasn't what the market leader believed it was. And just as Kodak had confused film with photography, Blockbuster had confused video stores with entertainment. The lesson became impossible to ignore. Again and again, industry leaders assumed customers valued the product they had perfected. In reality, customers were following something far more fluid. They followed convenience, connection, and ecosystems. The product was becoming secondary. The platform surrounding it was becoming the real source of value. No company demonstrated this shift more dramatically than Nokia. At one point, it was the undisputed king of mobile phones. Its devices were legendary for their durability, battery life, and engineering. Hundreds of millions of people carried a Nokia, and competitors struggled to match its manufacturing scale. From the outside, the company looked invincible. Then, in 2007, Apple introduced the iPhone. The breakthrough wasn't just the hardware. It redefined the phone as a software platform. A smartphone was no longer merely a communication device. It became a pocket computer that evolved through apps, internet services, and continuous updates. Value had moved beyond the device itself and into the ecosystem around it. Nokia responded the way successful companies often do. It built better phones, better cameras, faster processors, better industrial design. But customers were no longer choosing the best phone. They were choosing the best digital ecosystem. The operating system, developer community, app marketplace, and seamless integration had become the real product. BlackBerry faced the same trap. Its secure keyboard phones dominated corporate communication and became symbols of professional status. The company solved mobile email better than anyone else. But as smartphones evolved into complete computing devices, email became just one feature among many. BlackBerry continued improving security, keyboards, and enterprise tools while consumers demanded touchscreens, applications, entertainment, navigation, and connected digital experiences. Security still mattered, but it was no longer where the market's value was concentrating. Different companies, different industries, the same invisible migration. They believed they competed through products, while the market had already shifted toward platforms, ecosystems, and network effects. The winners weren't building better devices anymore. They were building environments that became more valuable every time another user joined them. If history only told stories of decline, it would be easy to believe every market leader is eventually doomed. But history tells a more interesting story. While companies like Kodak, Xerox, Blockbuster, Nokia, and BlackBerry fought to protect the businesses that had made them successful, another group of companies made a fundamentally different decision. Instead of asking how to preserve yesterday's profits, they asked where tomorrow's value was beginning to emerge. Microsoft became one of the clearest examples. During the 1990s, Windows and Office had turned the company into one of the most profitable businesses in history. As smartphones, cloud computing, and internet services reshaped the technology industry, however, that dominance began to weaken. For a time, Microsoft looked destined to become another giant trapped by its own legacy. Then the company changed direction. Rather than treating cloud computing as a threat to its software empire, it accepted that software itself was evolving into a service. Under Nadella, Microsoft redirected enormous resources toward Azure, enterprise cloud infrastructure, developer platforms, artificial intelligence, and subscription-based services. Instead of protecting the old economic engine, it deliberately built the next one before the first had fully declined. Amazon followed the same principle from an entirely different starting point. Most people still think of Amazon as an online retailer, but retail eventually became only one layer of a much larger ecosystem. Warehouses, fulfillment centers, logistics networks, and computing infrastructure were never just operational assets. They became platforms capable of creating entirely new markets. What began as internal infrastructure evolved into Amazon Web Services, one of the most profitable cloud businesses ever created. Apple reached the same destination through another philosophy. The iPhone transformed consumer technology, but Apple's greatest achievement wasn't the device. It was creating an ecosystem where hardware, software, services, and developers continuously reinforced one another. Every new customer made the platform stronger, every new service increased loyalty, and every new product expanded the value of everything already inside the ecosystem. These companies didn't survive because they simply innovated more. They survived because they recognized that economic value had already begun moving, and they chose to move with it before everyone else did. As the old industrial giants struggled to follow the migration of value, an entirely new generation of companies was building itself around a different assumption. Their ambition was never simply to create better products. They wanted to build the infrastructure upon which countless other businesses would eventually depend. The most valuable companies of the 21st century were no longer competing to sell individual technologies. They were becoming the foundation of entire economic ecosystems. No company illustrates this transformation more clearly than NVIDIA. For years, it was known primarily for designing graphics processors for video games. It occupied an important niche, but few imagined it would one day become one of the world's most valuable companies. Then artificial intelligence created an unprecedented demand for massive parallel computing. Almost overnight, the same chips once used to render digital worlds became the engines powering machine learning, scientific research, autonomous systems, and generative AI. To an outside observer, NVIDIA's rise appeared sudden. In reality, it was the result of years spent building capabilities before the market fully understood their importance. The company didn't simply produce faster processors. It invested in software, developer tools, programming frameworks, and an ecosystem that made its hardware increasingly indispensable. By the time artificial intelligence entered the mainstream, NVIDIA wasn't just selling chips. It had become part of the infrastructure supporting the AI revolution itself. Google followed a remarkably similar path. Most people know the company through products like Search, Maps, Gmail, Android, Chrome, and YouTube. But those services were never isolated businesses. Together they formed a self-reinforcing ecosystem fueled by data, cloud infrastructure, artificial intelligence, and billions of daily interactions. Every search improved algorithms. Every Android device expanded the platform. Every user strengthened the network. Individually, each service created value. Together, they created an ecosystem that became extraordinarily difficult to replicate. This is what separates today's technology leaders from many of the companies that came before them. Their greatest assets are often invisible. Data centers spread across continents, fiber optic cables crossing oceans, semiconductor supply chains spanning multiple countries, machine learning models refined over years, global cloud networks operating every second of every day. These are not products displayed on store shelves. They are the infrastructure quietly supporting millions of businesses, governments, and individuals around the world. The migration of value has followed the same pattern again and again. It moved from physical products to software, from software to platforms, from platforms to cloud infrastructure, and now it is rapidly shifting toward artificial intelligence, capable of transforming nearly every industry. Each transition feels revolutionary while it unfolds, yet the underlying principle never changes. Economic value accumulates wherever new capabilities allow entire ecosystems to become more productive. This is why focusing only on technology can be misleading. Artificial intelligence, like the smartphone before it, is not the destination. It is simply another vehicle through which value migrates. The companies most likely to shape the coming decades will not necessarily invent every breakthrough. They will be the ones that recognize where new value is emerging, build the infrastructure that enables it, and position themselves at the center of that ecosystem before everyone else arrives. Looking back, these stories were never really about cameras, photocopiers, video stores, smartphones, search engines, or computer chips. Those were only the visible products of their time. Beneath each industry, something far more important was moving. While executives refined existing products and celebrated quarterly results, economic value quietly migrated somewhere else. Those who recognized the shift helped build the future. Those who optimized yesterday's success slowly became part of history. This is the hidden ledger. It doesn't simply record patents, market share, or quarterly earnings. It tracks something far less visible, where society is choosing to create value next. That movement begins almost invisibly inside research labs, startups, universities, and technologies that initially appear too small to matter. By the time everyone recognizes the shift, someone else has usually built the next empire. History doesn't repeat because people refuse to learn. It repeats because success makes old assumptions feel permanent. And while the world celebrates today's winners, the hidden ledger is already recording where tomorrow's value is quietly beginning to move.